While the ongoing crisis has led to hardened positions on both sides, there are voices calling for reconciliation and peace, even from some who've endured the most heartbreaking losses. The Parent Circle Families Forum is a joint grassroots Israeli-Palestinian organization founded in 1995. It brings together those who've lost a family member to the violence that's been going on for decades. Joining me is one of them, Robbie Damlin. Her son was killed by a Palestinian sniper back in 2002 while serving in the Israeli army, and she joins me now from Tel Aviv. Robbie, first of all, I am so sorry for your loss. I can't imagine the kind of pain you have endured all these years, but I really want to begin with how you're feeling and what goes through your mind, in your heart, when you see refugee camps in Gaza decimated, hospitals, schools attacked, more than 3,000 children among the 9,000 plus killed, and it's far from over.
Well, firstly, thank you for inviting me. And secondly, you know, we live almost in a parallel universe now. We watch Israeli news, and then I watch Al Jazeera, and then I watch CNN, and nothing is the same anywhere. So who knows exactly what is true and what isn't? Because you're talking about that hospital, and Israel did not admit to doing that. So I have no idea. All they did was to show a room underneath the hospital, which belongs to Hamas. So you can decide whatever it is you want, regardless. I am so sad. I cannot bear the idea that mothers, mainly mothers and children, are being killed. But I also know what happened on the 7th of October. And I have a very, very dear friend called Vivian Silva. She's one of the hostages. She's my age, in her 70s. She has worked for so many years for peace. She's one of the creators of Women Wage Peace. She used to travel and take children from Gaza to hospitals in Israel and back. How can it be that she's one of the hostages and that they didn't send her back? I can't bear the idea that there are babies and mothers, and that the mothers in Gaza are running away and they have no shelter and nowhere to run, and that there's a lack of food. We have to stop the madness. We have to embrace these families. I know that from my own personal experience, that meeting another mother who's lost a child is the most action of solace, because it allows you to know that they understand your pain. And the pain of a Palestinian mother and Israeli mother, it's the same pain. The tears are the same color. And when you get past all the stuff in your head and you understand the humanity of the other, and you can listen with empathy, even if you don't agree, that's the beginning of the end of conflict.
You believe in a framework for reconciliation. What are your thoughts on how Israel is responding to that brutal attack on October 7th? 1,400 dead, more than 200 people, including someone you know, taken hostage. How should have Israel been responding to this?
You know, that's an impossible thing for me to answer. It's so difficult. You have all your belief system can become, in a way, challenged. But I know that killing will not bring peace. And so all I can do is what I can do. I can go to visit the families in the south. I can try to get Palestinians or to get the army to understand that civilians' lives is just as valuable as anybody else. But you know, there's so many stories that the media is not covering. Did you know that Bedouin from the unrecognized villages came to the music concert to save these kids? Something like 64 kids were killed in a music festival, and some of them died, the Bedouin. And the villages, the Bedouin villages around, called Rahat, where there are about 80,000 people live, they actually have opened a huge storeroom together with Israelis where they are supplying goods to the people in the south. There are so many extraordinary acts. I actually live in Jaffa. In the war in 2021, there were terrible riots outside my house. They were burning cars and fighting. But this time, the Palestinian Israeli citizens and the Israelis made a pact that there would be no violence. And there hasn't been any violence here. And there are similar activities in cities where there are Palestinian Israeli citizens and Israelis.
Robbie, you wrote, and I was reading this yesterday, you wrote, when I was told that David had been killed, the first words that came out of my mouth were, "Do not take revenge in the name of my son." It was totally instinctive. Explain what you meant on that horrible day.
I meant, firstly, I didn't even know that I said that. I was told that afterwards by the people who were in the room. But I knew instinctively that I didn't want to contribute to the cycle of violence. There's no retribution. There's nothing that I could do that would bring David back. And I knew almost immediately that I wanted to do something to prevent other mothers, mainly mothers, Palestinian or Israeli, from feeling this dreadful pain, which really never goes away. You do learn to live with it next to you, but it doesn't go away. And revenge, maybe that's a very natural human reaction, but I didn't have that sense of revenge. I wanted to prevent others from experiencing this. I'm not Joan of Arc. That was a natural reaction that came from me. And actually, I was invited after that to go to a weekend of Palestinian and Israeli families that were bereaved. And I remember sitting around the table and looking into the eyes of the Palestinian mothers and realizing that same pain and how powerful we could be if we could stand on the stage together and speak in one voice for peace, for nonviolence, for reconciliation. Nobody's talking about the West Bank, by the way. The West Bank is under complete closure. We cannot meet at the moment, so we meet all the time over Zoom. And that is the most extraordinary thing, that the Palestinians and the Israelis from our group are maintaining a conversation. Do you know what a sense of trust has to be when you are watching your media and I'm watching mine, and we know that we still have the same goal? We want to create a framework for a reconciliation process that will be an integral part of any political future peace agreement.
And Robbie, we're running out of time, but my final question to you is, how do you endure that kind of pain, that kind of staggering loss with losing David, and yet have the will, the strength, and the courage to keep fighting for peace?
You know, what is gratitude? I have gratitude in the fact that I could be maybe just a small part of somebody's transformation from hatred, just a small part of making an emotional breakthrough so somebody would see the humanity in the other. I could go on telling you stories till tomorrow morning about how extraordinary my life has been and how many amazing people I've met along the way who understand this path, who are clean.
We're going to leave it there. We so appreciate you joining us on this program with a very powerful message. Robbie Damelin, thank you.
Thank you very much.